Hi, these comments are for DA. I am Michael from OTC, OnlineTOEFLCourse.com. And you are one of my TOEFL Speaking Bootcamp course students. If you can do me a favor, I mean, you don't have to, but if you want to make a positive comment, you might have a Facebook page, you might, or some social media. Tell other people about what I do. A lot of people they don't even believe that I give feedback. They think it's some kind of a joke or something, but tell them, say, hey, this guy will listen to your practice test. He'll give you a score. He'll even recommend specific lessons to help you address your weak points. If you could do that, I would be very grateful. I spend zero money on advertising. I do not advertise at all, right? Period. And I don't need to. I don't want to. I don't want to get too big, but I wouldn't mind having a few more customers, especially during the Christmas time. It helps in paying the bills. And remember that the cost of operating my website is about $400 to $500 a month. That's just the cost of operating everything. Okay, so let's get started with yours. Okay, I have the independent speaking task in front of me here, right? I'm not sure if you're doing integrated speaking or independent speaking.
The reading is a letter.
Okay, yours is more integrated. Okay, let's go to the next one here. I always try to have my mindset. Here's my philosophy. I have tens and tens of thousands of practice tests I've scored. Students come back to me, they tell me what their actual TOEFL speaking score is, so I'm pretty calibrated. I can give you a good idea of how you compare to all these other students. For example, I have two students right now, both of whom just scored 29 on the speaking. So I can remember how they speak and what they do in their practice test, and I can compare you to them and tell you how you're doing. Okay, that's what I can do. Okay, here we
From
go.
a student who proposes that university should run. The reading is a letter from a student who proposes that university should run a free bus service for students between campus and the airport during breaks. The man agrees with this decision for two important reasons.
Okay.
First, he says it will be less expensive for students because students who want to go to the airport, they have to ask their friends to give them a ride, or they have to take a taxi and pay $30 or $40, and it's so expensive for them. Also, there is less need for bus on campus during breaks because most of students leave the campus during breaks, and also students who still there don't really need it because they have to go to the library or for their final exam, so that will not affect them negatively, and that's why the woman agrees with this letter. The reading is a letter from a student.
Okay, so let's see what we got. So I'm going to say you're at least 3.0 out of 4, 23 points out of 30. I'm pretty sure of that, right? So let's listen to it again and see if you can even get higher than that. I'm going to listen a little bit more closely.
The reading is a letter from a student who proposes that university should run a free bus service.
Should run a what service? See, I'm having trouble with that word there.
Proposes that university should run a free bus service.
That word, a fee bus, I know it's a word, I just can't quite get what you're saying there.
For students between campus and the airport during breaks. The man agrees with this decision for two important reasons.
Okay, so by saying two important reasons, it helps to frame what's happening in the next part of the response. Now, if you want to change it up a little bit, you might want to say, two important reasons are suggested by the man on why this is a good service or something. Because what you said, the man has two important. That's kind of a very predictable, very original, unoriginal type sentence.
First, he says it will be less expensive for.
Now, saying it is very weak. I would say first, the man says the shuttling service, the university shuttling service, will be less expensive, blah, blah, blah. So instead of using it, maybe use a couple of words in there to help restate what you've already said to show a little bit better grammar and to make a clear connection of ideas there.
Students, because students who want to go to the airport, they have to
Now notice when you're saying airport. So the P sound you're not pronouncing with enough air. It's airport, airport, airport.
ask their friends to give them a ride, or they have to take a taxi and pay $30 or $40, and it's so expensive for them. Also,
So asking their friends is kind of inconvenient.
there is less need for bus on campus during breaks because
There's less need for maybe buses. Again, the B, you need to pronounce that more clearly. There's less need for buses or public transportation on campus.
most of students leave the campus.
No, I would just say because most students have left campus, but let me check your language use here.
There is less need for bus on campus during breaks because most of students leave the campus during breaks.
Because most students leave the campus during breaks. So if you say most of, you have to say the. Most of the students. But if you're talking about students generally, just say most students.
And also students who still there don't really need
I think you're missing a verb in there. Let me listen one more time.
for bus on campus during breaks because most of students leave the campus during breaks. And also students who still there.
No, students who still there. No, students who are still there. So you didn't put that verb in that adjective clause. That's a language use issue. Remember, if you have a dependent clause, you'll have to have a subject, and sometimes the subordinated conjunction doubles as the conjunction and the subject at the same time, like in that case. But students who are there,
Don't really need it because they
they don't really need the service.
have to go to the library or for their final exam, so that will not affect them negatively, and that's why the woman agrees with this letter.
Okay, so I think on this one, I uncovered maybe a few language use issues. I wasn't even aware of them the first time I listened to it, but you do have some language use issues going on. If you go to the grammar part of my course, you can study a little bit more about adjective clauses, right? The title of the lesson is adjective clauses. I think delivery, your speech is generally clear, but there's a word or two in there that I'm having trouble with, so you need to keep working on your pronunciation. I think if you could make some improvements, maybe with just the overall pronunciation of most consonants and most vowel sounds, I think that would be helpful. For example, the bilabial consonants, you seem to be having trouble with the P, the B, those two consonant sounds. And I have, I think, 48 different accent reduction lessons to help you with your pronunciation. So do spend time in those areas. I think for the most part, topic development, I don't have a lot of problems with that. I think you're organized, you structure ideas in a way that's pretty easy for people to follow, so that's good. I think with language use, just be careful. You tend to use a lot of pronouns like it. But be careful about using too many its. Try to show that you can use advanced grammar, and using the word it or even there, it and there sentence constructions are very basic type grammar constructions. It doesn't really showcase your syntactic variety. So if you want to work on syntactic variety, you can go to my grammar lesson. I think it's number 26. It talks about sentence variety, and I even have some sentence variety practice exercises for you. I think that might be something good that you can practice also. All right, so those are my comments on that, and keep up the good work. I'm going to keep my score the same, right around 3.0 out of 4, 23 points out of 30, based on my analysis of your response.